Welcome to the Unusual History of Everything, the podcast that uncovers the unusual history of everything around us. I'm Karen Lacey.
And I'm Melanie Dellis. On this episode, we take a look at how Tesla and intestines became the inspiration for filtering water.
Well, we're headed toward the end of summer. Long, hot days, weekends at the pool or beach, and lots of sunshine. Since so many people take to the beaches, it got us thinking about the gas that we use to drive there, which got us to thinking about buying electric cars, which got us to thinking about Teslas, which got us to thinking about Nikola Tesla's inventions, which got us to thinking about sharks. Well, their innards mostly.
Before you go on, I just need to say one thing. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast again. It's been a while.
It has. We've been so busy with random stuff. I had a baby.
Yes, congratulations.
And we did a lot of work at the Comic-Con Museum, which took up some time as well. So much fun, though.
So much fun. And we got our soon-to-be-published book ready. And that's going to be all very exciting when we announce that publication date.
And you have a bittersweet thing that happened to you as well.
Yes, my older son Johnny went to college. Woo-hoo. He's playing basketball in Florida, so that's sad but exciting and cool. But on to some cool, gross things.
Yeah, I love Nikola Tesla.
I love shark intestines.
One of my favorite people. His name, Nikola Tesla, is just great. And there's just so many cool things. I always think he's one of those people, you almost wonder, people are a product of their times, but he's a person that I'm like, oh, he just would have been awesome in any time.
Yeah. There's this really cool, classic picture of him. If you just Google him or whatever, it's the one that comes up mostly with him just chilling, reading a book or writing. I can't tell if he's reading or just writing in his research book, but he's just sitting there in this huge room and there's all this electricity zapping around him.
Oh my God, it's so cool. I mean, he needed to be in that time because we wouldn't have electricity as we know it today.
Yeah.
But gosh, wouldn't it be cool if he was around right now? Anyway.
It would be, but he's not, unfortunately, but he lives on in so many things.
He does.
And one of the things we're going to talk about today is shark intestines. And you may be at this point thinking that everything that Karen said at the beginning of this podcast is a random, incredibly random train of thought.
Which could be potentially accurate.
Yeah. But there's a point. There's a method behind the madness. Tesla and shark intestines have more in common than you might think. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning with the man himself. Nikola Tesla was born in what is now Croatia back in 1856. He was an inventor and engineer ahead of his time, thinking up and patenting inventions like the rotating magnetic field, which is a fundamental principle in physics.
The story about how he discovered it is really interesting and shows how intricate the human brain really is. It was an evening in February 1882. The sun was beginning to set, and Tesla and his friend were taking a walk through the park in Budapest. Because it was what they usually like to do, both men were reciting stanzas from Goethe's Faust. This is interesting because the main theme in Faust is that the essential feature of all existence and the law that governs the universe is untiring, purposeful, and positive effort. And that man, much like Tesla himself, can find his place in this life only by participating in the vast cosmic movement.
It was at that moment that Tesla's mind decided to participate in the vast cosmic movement in a major way. He described seeing flashes of an iron rotor spinning rapidly in a rotating magnetic field produced by the interaction of two alternating currents that were out of step with one another. It was the solution to the rotating magnetic field he had been racking his brain for. You see, at that time, Thomas Edison was creating direct current, or DC, motors, which Tesla believed were inefficient. He wanted to make alternating current, or AC, motors that wouldn't create spark or require expensive magnets to operate. And a revelation during this walk had allowed him to figure it out. His design is still the core of most electric motors.
Tesla also invented the three-phase system of electric power transmission, which is the most common method used by electric grids around the world to transfer power, the Tesla coil, which we use in radios today and many, many other things. He did not, however, invent the Tesla car, But because of his contributions to society today, Elon Musk changed the name of the company to pay homage to Nikola Tesla.
But what we're focusing on in this episode is Tesla's valvular conduit, which he invented and patented in 1920. This device is special for a few reasons. First, using a series of intricate tear-shaped loops, it allowed fluid to move in one direction while at the same time preventing backflow without any moving parts at all. Brilliant. He created it for a steam engine he was working on in the hope it would increase the efficiency of the power plants. Unfortunately, he had to file for bankruptcy before the invention could be used, and with all the commotion, it was forgotten about for years.
But in 2021, scientists at New York University decided to build Tesla's valvular conduit to not only see if it worked, but also to see what it could be used for today, which is our second reason this device is so special. The team followed his original plan for the conduit and determined that although it wasn't perfect, it did have some potential benefits. Because there were no moving parts, there was no need for maintenance, which was a plus. Also, they believed that some tweaks in it could be used to pump fluids like coolants and lubricants around motors by harnessing engine vibrations and using that otherwise wasted energy.
Our third reason for the valvular conduit specialness brings us to sharks, specifically their intestines. We all know what intestines do. We eat and they absorb the nutrients and send the waste products through the body until they're eliminated. And most intestines are the same no matter if you're human or animal. They're tubular and use muscle contractions to push everything through. But sharks are a different story altogether.
Interestingly, researchers relied on flat sketches of shark digestive systems and so didn't know too much about shark intestines until 2021. But 3D scans developed by a team at California State University, Dominguez Hills, the University of Washington, and the University of California, Irvine, now allows researchers to understand how sharks digest food and expel waste into the oceans without having to cut into them. These scans showed them something very different than the sketches did. Shark intestines are shaped like and function like Tesla's valvular conduit.
That is so cool.
Cool.
The spiral shape of the intestines comes in handy for proper food absorption by slowing down the process of digestion and saving energy. This is why sharks go days or even weeks without eating much, but still have a lot of energy to swim around the ocean and terrorize us as we swim.
Not all sharks are terrors.
Okay, maybe just me being afraid
Just
of all
a couple
sharks.
of them.
And this led researchers to start thinking about how they could use that design to make wastewater treatment and the filtering of microplastics out of water more efficient. Microplastics are those teeny tiny pieces of plastic that ends up in our water systems and can cause damage to human cells, which includes death. So filtering them out of the water is pretty important. But the Tesla design, although good, is not good enough to filter out microplastics. However, if you add in the shark intestine design, the combination is perfect.
Because shark intestines move extra slow, they filter out more waste products than humans and animals. So, the team hopes to use the two designs in combination to come up with a more efficient and energy-saving system for our wastewater filtration plants.
That is so interesting and so cool and something I never really thought about. But you know how, so we just took John to college in Florida, like I said earlier. And Nick is my younger son, we were swimming in the ocean and all I could think about was all of the fish poop that I was swimming in. And it just grosses me out. It's so disgusting because literally that is what you're swimming in. It's basically their toilet. Okay, humans swim in marine life's toilet. It's disgusting. So
That's why you take a shower after you go to the beach.
I know, but I was watching Nick and all the other people swimming in the ocean with me as the water was getting in their mouth and stuff. And I was like, ugh, ugh. I was vomiting in my mouth a little bit. It was disgusting. But having already did the research for this podcast episode, I kept thinking why are we not filtering out the entire ocean of the fish poop?
What?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Because it's an essential part of the ecosystem is that all of that stuff is down there and it's got to work together.
I know. Okay, but there's a lot of sharks in there. Okay, all over the world's oceans.
Sure.
And their intestinal filtration system should be filtering out all of the, right? All of the poop.
But I think, okay, I don't think we're swimming in tons of poop. I think the reality is there are so many mechanisms within the ecosystem of the oceans, you know, that kind of help with that. You know, like the kelp is there. There's other fish that are there. There's all this stuff going on. So they're probably natural filtration.
And they're all pooping. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that there's not like, I think in 1 cup of seawater, there's not like a bazillion pieces of little tiny fish poops.
Potentially. But I think for your own peace of mind, your next podcast that you get to write or research needs to be how much poop is really in the ocean. Because I would argue that is probably not as bad as maybe, say, the trash.
You know what? Okay.
That's in the ocean.
I'm Googling it right now. I'm literally Googling how much poop is in the ocean.
I'd be more concerned with like runoff from like rivers.
Oh my God, there's an answer. Hold on. This is from sciencealert.com. There's roughly 1.65 billion tons of poop in the depths of the ocean.
It sinks though.
And all those droppings are part of what makes the ocean the largest active carbon sink in the world. Ew. They didn't want to say toilet. They said sink. That's disgusting. I'm never going in the ocean again.
There's more to this story, I think. Well, anyway, before Melanie like has like a moment, she's probably gonna have to go take a shower after this, even though she's in the ocean like a week ago.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our episode. You can follow the Unusual History of Everything podcast on Instagram at The Unusual History of Everything and on Facebook at The Unusual History of Everything podcast. And find our show notes on musecuratorial.com. That's www.musecuratorial.com. The Unusual History of Everything is written, produced, directed by Melanie Dellis and Karen Lacey.
New episodes air every Tuesday on all podcast outlets. Be sure to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. You can also see photos from our episodes and more on our website, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Melanie Dellis.
And I'm Karen Lacey, your host for The Unusual History of Everything.
Da, 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 da.